What shaped you into the person that you are today? Your experiences? Your family? Your friends? The choices you've made? An inspirational figure? Or perhaps something else? I think everyone needs an outlet, or at least some form of escapism that allows them to leave real life behind for a little while, to be someone else, or dream seemingly unattainable dreams. Isn't that why humans are so interested in fictional stories, of legends, of myths, of things that are fantastical or fictional in nature? Even still, all I can think about are the phrases, feelings, and wisdom that have been imparted to me since my first encounter with Haikyuu. As I grow older, I look for media. Games, movies, anime, shows, books, that fill that space of things that are relevant to my life, of things that I can take away or think deeply about far after the experience is over. I find myself reflecting on one of the most important and central themes in the entirety of Haikyuu, the concept of mentorship. Generally, when people consider the word mentorship, they usually think of guidance provided by someone with more experience, or perhaps someone older who is willing to impart wisdom to a younger or more mature individual. From the very first episode titled The End and the Beginning, to its final chapter, Haikyuu speaks to the essentiality of mentorship in all its forms. Haikyuu is a show about many themes, some of which include commentaries on talent, failure, and passion, all based around this guiding principle that volleyball can be fun. Intertwined is this theme of mentorship, certainly from older individuals, but often from teammates, rivals, family, strangers, and friends. For example, Sugawara spending practice time with Hinata, Kageyama's willingness to seek out Oikawa for advice, and on the other hand, Oikawa's willingness to give that advice in return. It certainly isn't easy for either of them. Or Kita speaking to his teammates on the definition of talent, or Tsukushima asking Bokuto what drives him to play volleyball. There are so many things of which we can gain insight and knowledge from in our daily lives and interactions. The question posed is such: are the people in these moments, and by extension us, the viewers, willing to integrate them into our daily lives? The idea of mentorship isn't a new one. Various movies, anime, shows, books, games, etc. all have mentors and teachers who play an integral role in their plots and the development of those they mentor. So what makes Haikyuu's idea of mentorship more impactful to me over the others? From early childhood and onward, I've always been the youngest one at many social events and gatherings, thanks to having two older brothers. Additionally, my father was an acting youth pastor for a time, and thus I had an opportunity at an early age to be around people who were at least 5 to 10 years older than me. It's been mentioned by close friends of mine that I have a very old soul, and that I often act like an old man. I suppose the old adage that says this is true: you become like the people you spend the most time with. Though the adult mentors in Haikyuu don't often receive the spotlight, they set up an essential foundation, the bedrock of which numerous core themes of the show are built from. Certainly in the steadiness of Daichi, the measured attitude of Sugawara, the courage of Enoshita, the leadership of Oikawa, or the wisdom of Kita, but much less emphasis is given to the adults in the show. Today, I'd like to focus on two in particular. One of the most unheralded characters in all of Haikyuu, especially considering he isn't one of the central characters, nor does he actually ever play volleyball, Takeda Sensei, who is nominally the coach, serves as the role of the viewer at the start of Haikyuu, given his lack of knowledge about volleyball and its intricacies. And at first, that's all I thought he would be. But then his speech in episode 7 of season 1 changed my mind and my perspective of the adults within Haikyuu. Essentially, what he imparts to Karasuno is this: extraordinary things begin with mundane beginnings. In most anime, a good portion of the adults tend to be woefully neglectful, physically or emotionally absent, or curiously ignorant to the problems facing those whom they are supposed to be watching over. This important role is eventually filled when the younger character meets an older mentor of some kind. Viewers are often presented with examples of adults that often fail the next generation. But Haikyuu flips that trope on its head. The first moment that signaled this change was with the introduction of Takeda Sensei. According to the Haikyuu guidebook, Furodate gave him the name Itetsu, with the Japanese idiom meaning very tenacious in mind. Both the kanji for Takeda-sensei's name and the idiom are both pronounced as itetsu. True to his namesake, Takeda-sensei is a stubborn and resourceful character who is well aware of himself. He may not have the volleyball knowledge and tactical know-how despite his title as Karasuno's coach, but his earnest nature and willingness to seek a proper instructor for the students under his care is a core ethos that echoes his speech in Episode 7. Extraordinary things begin with mundane beginnings. Perhaps Takeda-sensei's greatest strength comes in the wisdom he offers to the show. He may not know the details of others' pasts, but he is correctly able to deduce their feelings and motivations due to his role as an observer. Countless small examples that push his students forward are shown, 3 of which stand out to me in particular. Coach Nekomata compliments him on his persistence, stating that it will help the team move forward. It did more than that in convincing Keishin to become the coach, and I believe played an additional role in convincing the third years to return. Interestingly enough, he doesn't try to push the third years in any one direction, simply telling them that they should make their own choice, but to make sure it is one they will not regret in the future. And when they evaluate their futures, they all make the decision to come back for one more attempt, an attempt that leads to an opportunity on the national stage. Takeda-sensei's declaration that they are easily the weakest of the present teams of the Tokyo training camp, only to change the team's perspective with a single quote. You guys being weak means you have room to grow, and there's no greater joy than that. Takeda-sensei remains a consistent and foundational presence in his mentor role, whose gradual understanding of volleyball shapes his wisdom and words as he continues to watch over Karasuno throughout the series. Though he plays a smaller role and is often in the background of openers or seen for a split second, the series would not be what it is without him. The other significant adult that contributes to Karasuno arrives in the form of the cranky clerk, Keishin Ukai. Initially appearing in episode 5 of season 1, he is persistently badgered by Takeda-sensei to fulfill the role that he cannot. And as a bonus, he is also the former coach's grandson. While the teacher can offer wisdom and guidance on a personal level, Takeda-sensei cannot provide the same amount of technical insight that Keishin can. And so he begs, and pleads. Even when rejected, he remarks that he will come again. Eventually, with the lure of reviving the Karasuno-Nekoma rivalry, and after seeing the team and the potential they have, Keishin readily agrees to become the permanent coach. And similar to his coaching partner, he lives up to his namesake. His first name, Keishin, means connecting hearts, and his last name, Ukai, means crow nurture. In fact, Furudate gave him his name because of his nature, training crows and connecting hearts, exactly as it says. On a purely technical level, there is no chance that Karasuno becomes what it does in subsequent seasons without the guidance of Keishin and his perspective. And likewise, more than a few characters certainly would not have evolved in the way that they do without his presence. Throughout the show, Keishin speaks to the importance of connecting. Volleyball is a sport where you're always looking up. And while his quote speaks to the importance of connection on a volleyball level, I believe he also means it on a personal level. Life is so much harder without connections, for those bonds are what will pick you up when you're far too weak to move forward by yourself. Like all of the themes I've explored in my Haikyuu videos, this prevalent theme of mentorship and the impact of Karasuno's mentors is seen particularly in the growth of Haikyuu's 2 main protagonists in Hinata and Kageyama. Takeda-sensei is the first to admit that Hinata and Kageyama's quick is something really special, and if even he, a volleyball amateur, can see that, then someone like Keishin would be able to do so much more with it, and he is correct in his deduction. Later, at the end of Season 1, he gives Hinata and Kageyama some parting wisdom about their defeat at the hands of Alba Josai. He goes out of his way to encourage the pair. Defeat and failure, after all, are trials that are to be overcome. That it isn't the end of the road, and that staying on their knees would be a sign of weakness. And so they stand up, painful as it may be. Keishin, though initially hesitant on the idea of changing the freak quick, works with both Hinata and Kageyama in their own separate ways. He takes Hinata to see his grandfather, and suggests the idea of a new set to Kageyama. And the end result is amazing. In Hinata's infiltration of the first-year training camp, both teacher and coach lay the groundwork for the middle blocker's significant growth, and subsequently one of the most epic moments in Season 4. He who climbs the ladder must begin at the bottom. To become good at something, you must follow the proper steps. Think about what it is that only you can do there. Also, don't go underestimating what it takes to be a ball boy. While Takeda-sensei and Keishin don't play as big a role in Kageyama's subsequent development, it is worth noting that Keishin soothes Kageyama's worries about becoming a king again. That while nothing beats a set that's easy for the spiker to hit, he still needs to communicate and fight to find out what that medium is. He needs to be cognizant of his teammates and how they're doing. It's not a bad thing to demand the best out of them, and to push them to be better and fly higher. And the result of that is the Serene King. It would be remiss of me to not mention that other coaches and adults play roles in the development of major and minor characters alike, such as Coach Washijo for Hinata, or Shimada for Yamaguchi. They too speak to the essentiality of mentorship. If most entertainment mediums tend to show humanity at its worst, Haikyuu and this consistent theme of mentorship show what we as humans can be when we're at our best and receiving the proper support. Ever evolving. Earlier, I mentioned a significant piece of wisdom. Extraordinary things begin with mundane beginnings. I've mentioned my friend and mentor Kevin several times in previous videos, as often the conversations we have are catalysts for my inspiration. But the role he has played in my life has been nothing short of substantial, and I'd go so far as to say life-changing. Would it surprise you to know that we met at a summer camp as complete strangers? He had heard of me through my brothers, but we had never officially met. That is, of course, until that one fateful weekend. I was a first-time camper, and he, a counselor. I was awkward, shy, and really didn't know how to interact with others. But because I was more comfortable interacting with older people, I ended up spending a lot of time around him. And while we bonded in that first summer, our relationship didn't take off until the subsequent year when he was my counselor. From that point on, I've thought, and still think the world of him. He's seen me at my highest peaks and lowest of lows. But without his presence, I have no doubt that I would have been significantly different. His wisdom and guidance has been a light for me numerous times throughout my formative years then, and now. Throughout subsequent years and development of many inside jokes, I'm honored to call Kevin one of my closest friends and mentors, and one of the most important people in my life. Could I have predicted that he would be one of my closest confidants, friends, and someone who I hold in the utmost regard? I didn't think so then, but if we both didn't take the first steps forward a decade ago, I would have missed out on knowing one of the best people I know. Failing to seek or be open to mentorship from those around you certainly causes you to miss out on so much potential growth. I know that would have been the case for me. I'll leave you with this quote from Takeda-sensei. If we can always present the correct answer to them, we should. But the best thing we can do is to make sure that they don't stop thinking, and to make sure they keep searching what's best for them. Don't you think? I hope that someday, you'll find someone who is wholly committed to seeing you grow to become the best you can be. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving me a subscription, a like, or comment below what you think of this idea of mentorship or of Haikyuu. I'd very much like to hear what you have to say. I'd like to close this video a little differently by saying thank you to some significant people that mentored me. Mr. B, Mr. J, and Doc. I owe you three much. Thanks for making my experiences in school meaningful. Though it wasn't the focus of my video, I'd also like to give a shout out to my friends who have taught me so much and caused me to grow in so many ways. Connor, Austin, Logan, Andrew, y'all are wonderful. And thank you, viewer, for making it to the end of this video, which I have been procrastinating for the past 3 weeks. Have a great week, and I hope to see you all again soon.